Well, hello, everybody, one more time. Old Buck Dave of the two Old Bucks, along with
Old Buck Dell.
Old Buck Dale, the other Old Buck, episode 220. We're crunching on there, folks. Oh,
Still alive, still
still
alive.
alive. We're a little slower than we were, but we're still out
Yeah.
there. Yeah. So, hey, let's, first of all, today is, you know what? Today is June 20th, which is the summer solstice, the day that the
hmm
sun stands still. Yeah, the Earth's axis is tilted closest to the sun,
So we can feel the heat.
so we could
We
feel the heat. The
will
longest
soon feel the heat, huh?
longest day of the year. So I took a little ride this morning to celebrate the solstice, of course, but it was not a sunny ride. I got to my break point and I checked my phone because it was dark, getting darkish outside, and I looked on the weather map and the radar and everything. And said no, it says nothing till 2 o'clock, and there's some little puffs out in the Gulf of Mexico, that is. And I thought, okay. So so as soon as I left, it started raining. So, like, what is this all about? And then it's raining harder, and then thunder and lightning. And it's like, hmm. So much for the summer solstice. Anyway, did not have a sunny ride. The bizarre thing is, uh, I apparently butt dialed you a half a dozen times, you said?
You did, and I figured that was the case. But what made me laugh about it was how you were able to do it. Where could that phone be if you were on a bicycle, both hands on the wheel, on the bars, riding, and all of a sudden this thing is dialing. Then I'm hanging up and you're dialing again, and
Yeah, I didn't know that was
I wonder
happening.
how I could do that.
How could he do that? And then I got home, and my wife said, she said, you kept calling me, you kept calling me, and I'm answering, and all I can hear is you breathing. And so she said, yeah, that couple times that happened. And and then I checked the phone also, and I had butt dialed three text messages to a person, text messages of gibberish. So I don't know how the pocket is on the back of my shirt. Okay. And
Ah, just bouncing against your body. That's a good challenge for listeners. How many listeners have put their phone in their pockets or somewhere where it could get bounced around while it was still on, and then retrieved their phone later on and discovered places in their phone they never knew they had?
yeah.
And you say, I wonder how in the heck how could it partly have got to that? So, I mean, if a monkey with working opposable thumbs got a phone, who knows what who knows what he'd be capable of.
Yeah.
So,
Ay, ay, ay. It's
anyhow,
just,
you're riding. You do. Everyone should know that we're not young so much anymore, and Dave still has the energy and the wherewithal to exercise in the morning, and that's keeping the majority of him in good shape.
had a wet ride though. Yeah, it was working. It was working. I rode with Bud yesterday. We had a nice hot dry ride yesterday. And so speaking of the weather, what you were complaining about the
Well,
weather yourself.
well, I had a thought. Uh, Obviously, the weather. I mean, the weather features prominently almost in everything now. It's either something's going on with the weather that I have to be observant. But something made me laugh. And before I get to that point, in your house, who is the master of the temperature? Who masters the temperature?
It depends on whether or not I tell her that I'm changing it. So I guess that's the answer.
The answer is you are not the
I
master
am
of the
not.
temperature. You're not. Okay. So nor am I. But the weather announcer says the temperature is going to be 97 with a feels like temperature of 105.
Hmm.
I'm thinking when I speak to my lovely wife and say, "Dear, it's 72 degrees in here. No, it's 72 degrees outside, and it's only 74 in here. How can you be hot?" And she says, it feels warm. So why do we even need the feels like temperature? I mean, why don't we just go with the feels like temperature because that's what we're living with? What?
That's what we have to
Why do
live
they
with. That's a
even?
good point. Yeah.
Why do they give us the other one when it feels like?
Well, here's the,
Now,
well, because it probably feels differently to you than it does to her. Now that would,
so who gets to be the complainer if
well,
that's the case?
we already know who's in charge. We already clarified that point. Oh
Yeah.
man.
So if it only feels 97 degrees to me, but it feels like 105 degrees to her, then we have to adjust for the 105-degree temperature. I understand that. So when I give these temperatures, I tried to rationalize what what determined that number. And there was an article about that where they said because of humidity,
Hmm.
your body is not able to um, dry off the sweat.
Evaporate.
Right.
Yes.
And that therefore makes it feel. But that's got to be an arbitrary number for sure. Makes it feel like 105. I mean, how do they even measure that? You know what I mean? They don't have a thermometer.
No, no, it's
So what are
yeah.
we doing here? We're
I
saying,
I I
give us
don't
the
know. I
right
don't know what
temperature
we're
and let's
doing
just
here.
go with it.
Yeah. We'll
Just
decide what it feels like.
yeah, the women decide what it feels like. That's what they're the
Well,
ones that know what it feels like. We just go
yeah,
by what the thermometer says.
yeah. Hey, I got another. I got another storm story.
A weather related
Weather
story.
related, yes, since we're on this whole weather thing here. Do you remember Sunday night? I don't know if you had the same kind of storms we did, but Sunday night, from like I don't know
You mean
midnight to
the
3 a.m.
the nuclear bombs going off somewhere outside the
Yes,
house? Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Everybody was up. Everybody was up for that
Everybody
one.
was up, and we have. So I'm sitting up in bed there, and a really loud one, a bright flash came in, and I swear the lightning bolt came into the house. Now I don't think it did, but it's not like the room just lit up. It's like there was a streak across the room. All right, like, phew, that's about as close as it can as I ever wanted to get. In the morning,
In the
in
morning.
the morning, my wife walks out into the kitchen and says, "Why is the bedroom smoke detector lying on the kitchen floor?"
Ha ha.
Aha,
It did
something happened.
the static electricity
Something blew it out of there,
ran into that.
blew it into the kitchen. And
Oh my soul.
yeah, and I picked it up. It's not showing any signal. I thought, okay, it fell or whatever. I checked the batteries, and I put the batteries in probably less than a month ago. They
Hmm.
were zero. They were at zero.
Ah.
So some strange thing happened. But
I I have great respect for the lightning thing. I've been I kind of like to watch it. I kind of like to watch a storm from a high vantage point.
oh
And
yeah,
one went off and it just raised all the hair on my neck. And I said, "Whoa!" You know, the static electricity travels quite a ways, so that was. But there's a that's another thing that's getting a little more uh, what prominent or rougher or what's the word we want to use to describe that's increasing.
frequency, volume. I don't know. It's yeah.
And then of course there's the weather related disruptions. Took a friend to the airport
Uh huh.
early, right? Early for a 1 o'clock flight. We were there by 11. He calls me at 1:30 and said we were delayed 2 hours because of weather. I mean, I think this is the new norm. Take your chances when you check in.
I'll tell you a good one in that regard, since we're still on weather.
Yeah.
Sunday morning, my son from the LA Sun called to wish me a happy Father's Day. And he said, I'm at the airport. I'll be boarding here any minute now to go to Springfield, Missouri for some business meetings. It's like their annual sales meeting, something like that. He's connecting through Houston. Like, okay. A couple hours later, he calls me. We're still in LA. Okay, we're delayed. And then we get a call that evening, he said, "Well, I'm in Corpus Christi, Texas," which was not on the flight plan. So they'd been, because of the weather, they had been circling over Houston to the point where their fuel got low and they had to get diverted to Corpus Christi. He said, along with 29 other planes. All right. So he said, "Dad, there's only one of those ladders." He called it a ladder. One of those
Oh, well, the
staircase,
boarding ladders.
the boarding staircases.
Yeah.
There's no jetways. He says there are 30 planes sharing one ladder. He was sat on the runway for another 4 hours.
Oh, my soul.
Then he tried to get back to Houston, and then the flights. Well, the weather was canceling the Houston flights. He eventually did get back to Houston, and then he got a flight to Tulsa, Oklahoma, because that's where rental cars were. There were no rental cars in Corpus Christi, and apparently they were already taken in Houston. So he flew to Tulsa and had reserved a rental car there and drove to Springfield. Got there like Wednesday afternoon. So that's
Isn't that interesting? I've seen this before where you go to a place that has they have, I mean, it's an airport, so they've got rental cars, but they have a fleet of about eight, right? Rental cars. So they go in, and these planes end up there under duress. Uh, and immediately, if it's within driving distance, people run off the plane because they rent all the cars,
yeah.
all the cars and start driving to these locations. I wonder, I mean, Americans, I think we have a great tolerance for this kind of abuse. I think it's just going to get worse, but I doubt if anybody will stop flying. I mean, everybody leaves the house.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a Seinfeld episode, and he actually had reserved a rental car, I guess, when he I don't know if it was when he landed in Corpus Christi, he reserved a rental car, and of course there was no car, and it was just like that Seinfeld thing where he says, "I have a reservation," and she says, "There are no cars. We don't have a car for you," and he says, "A
But that's the purpose of the
That's the
reservation.
purpose of the reservation." He went through that same thing. It's like tough. Uh,
But I think everybody heads out. Uh, I really don't like to travel on any holidays for any reason. I have no reason to go anywhere on a holiday that I couldn't do on an off week.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Whether it's to see all the relatives or whatever. But everybody heads out. It won't happen to me. I
yeah.
should be able to get on the plane, spend my hour and a half in the air, get down, meet the in-laws, and then life is going to be good. Well, this one fellow that I took to the airport the other day, he said, I said, "You taking a jacket?" He said, "No, it's going to be 97 degrees or 96 degrees up there." I said, "Oh boy." So
So
it's
yeah,
going to get worse. I
it's
predict it's going to get worse.
gonna get worse. Thank
To
you.
the, yeah, no, well, to the folks that are not in the hurricane zone, which looks like it's about half the country now, they say prepare, just prepare. Like you should have 3 weeks of water, enough batteries to last you 10 years, and it list goes on and on and on. And really, all you need is about 3 days, and you just hope that the building you're in is intact when it's over. Really, you're
uh,
hoping that you have a roof over your head and some shelter when it's done, because the neighbors pitch up for this. You wouldn't starve to death. There's water in the swimming pool to use for other purposes. So the essence is we'll defeat this climatic changes by just making structures that will withstand 140-mile-an-hour winds, basically, which means we should eliminate all the roofs and keep every house above, no bigger than a story and a half or something. We tolerated 120-mile-an-hour winds for a couple hours, but I don't think we could do very well in 140 for about 6 hours.
uh,
That'll add some damage. But that's another story for another
that's
day. We'll
another
probably have a
story.
lot to talk about that in the future.
Yeah. Tell me something else.
Well, I would like to address our aging listeners who might have a desire for or a need of a hearing aid. And you know that we mentioned this in another episode. I bought my used hearing aids,
You
and
did. Yeah. You
yeah, only
upgraded, I
used by
guess.
a little old lady on Sunday to church, and they didn't work. but I got another pair that was even older, an older technology, battery technology. So what I'm discovering is I really wonder how many or what the statistics are for the hearing aids that are sold that people just don't have problems with, as opposed to those that are sold that they have lots of problems with. Like, is it 30/70, uh, 45/55, or you know what I mean? What? Because I'm surrounded by little old ladies and men, some with dementia, some are just old, have several pairs of hearing aids. And I'm thinking, man, I could make all of these work. I could make all of them work. And I have a hearing aid I bought many years ago. Very simple, very basic technology, just so I can hear the cars approaching me when I was riding bicycles. We talked about that a long time ago on the left side.
Mm-hmm.
And it still works fine. But the new ones with the new technology and all the stuff is really posing a problem. So I'm now fascinated with this. I'm now obsessed
You're kind of
with
slipping into MacGyver mode, maybe.
I'm in the MacGyver mode. So I convinced my guy, I won't mention any names, to give me, I said, just give me a used set of hearing aids that have a little Bluetooth. And I said, I'll take it from there.
Uh-huh.
Well, he opens a cardboard box with my name on it, pulls out two classic battery operated hearing aids, goes to his workbench, brings out all the parts and builds them in front of me. Just picks the pieces out of a box and assembles them. And I said, I can do that.
I can do that.
I can do that. So he puts them in. I said, "Whoa, man, are those things loud?" He said, "Let me tone it down. Let me tone it down." And I still got to get him to do that. This is the hang up because I need this man. He has proprietary control over the original frequencies, and once he sets them, I have to live with that. Even though I can adjust the frequencies, I can't change them to a normal position. So I'm tied to them for that purpose. Otherwise, if you can't control your hearing aids for every circumstance,
Mm-hmm.
you it's just troublesome. These little old ladies complain to me, "Oh, I don't like them. They're too loud. They're too this." I said, "They change every 20 minutes." Went to the movies with my new hearing aids in, almost blew my brains out. So I muted them,
I didn't
and I
mean
could
to laugh, but
and yeah, the little
it's
the little brain, it rolls out
I'm
the ear
laughing with
anyhow.
you. I'm not laughing at you.
So the
Something to look forward to, I guess.
so I'm starting to play with the frequencies on this thing, but it's hard to do that. In the movie theater, the phone is bright and people are looking at me, and I'm sitting there goofing around with this thing. So I even tried to adjust the frequencies for other circumstances, and I did it foolishly while I was driving, and the wife almost went ballistic on me about don't play with your phone. I said, but I need these sounds to test it. And he said, you can do it at home. I
You
said, at
can
home,
do it at a
I've already figured it out at home. So I think there should be a business where people could say, bring your phone to us. We give you lessons anytime you want them, and I'll adjust them. We'll adjust them for you or try to teach you how to adjust them. And I even thought about, I don't think there's any rule about being able to repair them. There should be a little repair shop someplace like they repair phones. We repair hearing aids without going to the audiologist who charges a big buck.
sounds
So
like an opportunity for you.
I'm thinking,
You're thinking about it. All
I
right.
want to
All
challenge
right.
our listeners that do have hearing issues. If they do have trouble with hearing aids, I would like all the old used ones because they'll last me forever. They'll last me forever.
uh,
I don't think I'll never buy the $5,000 pair because I don't need it. As long as I can get a little boost to left versus right and watch it myself, I don't need it. I would like them to write to us, tell us how they resolved it, how many spare pairs they may have of hearing aids, and if they do have hearing aids, why they're satisfied. So that's a challenge
that's
to
a challenge.
all of us, to
Okay.
the listeners who got
The gauntlet
some
has
hearing
been
deficiencies.
okay. All right, let's
That'd be more. There's more to this story. I'm telling you,
there's more to
I'm
this
on a
story.
mission now.
Okay, we'll look forward to seeing your business blossoming here.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
on a mission.
uh,
I'll help you with yours too when you get them.
okay, I'm gonna hold you to that. Yeah.
You were telling me we lost some folks.
We lost. Oh,
Brian
we did.
Wilson,
Yeah, oh, yeah. We lost two here in a week. Sly Stone and Brian Wilson. Yeah, both
real pioneers, huh? Real music
both. Yeah,
pioneers, them two.
monster talents. Yeah, real pioneers. Jeez, both. And they were both studio geniuses. It's kind of like me, I guess. That was a joke. But I mean, they could they could create. They had sounds in their head that they could turn into music that other people couldn't imagine what they did. They were just they were studio geniuses, and they both suffered from mental illness, unfortunately, and drug and alcohol problems. Do you have any
Yeah, that
what,
was.
do you have any favorite Sly Stones or Beach Boy Stones? Beach Boy songs?
I have a couple Beach Boy earworms.
Okay,
You know the earworms, and I've been doing this for I don't know
won't
how
go
long
away,
now.
huh?
Wouldn't it be nice? Dun, 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 dun. And while I'm doing the dishes or something, that comes into my head. So, and Sly, I don't have a lot, but if I hear the first four bars, I'll know it was his. You know what I mean? It was unique stuff. So,
Yeah,
yeah, they were.
Everyday People was a favorite of mine. Hot Fun in the summertime. Dance, it's funny. Dance to the music. He hated that. So he didn't want to do that. They said, "Oh, you got to do," because he was kind of some of his songs were, he was getting more political. He was, kind of stepping out there, which I don't think Brian Wilson ever did. He just played
No,
music. He just wanted to make music. But he hated the dance to the music. He said it was just there's nothing there. But it was one of their hits. It's fun to watch.
the
I'm a good vibrations guy for the Beach Boys. I think that's
that was a unique song. They talked about that and how that came together and how it influenced the Beatles and some other people
yeah,
for harmonies and for things. So, uh, well, it was it was good when we were there. I mean, we got to see it firsthand. When it was all new. Now it's familiar, but
yeah.
I've never regretted living through that period. Or I'm still alive today, obviously, to carry on a bit. But I was in my youth.
You were in your prime.
I was young. I had hair. I looked good.
Well, we've said it before. I've said it before. That was the best time to be young.
It was the
Um,
best time to be young. Yeah.
Maybe every generation says that, but boy, oh boy, being in
Hey,
your formative years in the '60s. Whew,
hey, it reminds me, Dave. You know, we have our buddy. Old Buck Gene. Old Buck Gene. We talked about him
we
occasionally.
interviewed old Buck Gene. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, Old Buck Gene is he's in the time bubble with us, and he suffered or endured or has developed some memory issues. Right. That would be a fair way to say it. Memory issues that seem to almost debilitate him. Wouldn't you
yes,
say?
yes.
We
He,
had
he
we
was in,
had
he was in
thought,
a bad way for a while. Yes.
right? We thought, and I mention this because you may know somebody like this. We thought that he was just going to deteriorate down to one day, he would pass away. But they were able to put him in a place um, that nurtured him rather nicely and changed some medications such that you would not recognize him. I mean, made a spectacular, not a recovery, but a change to where you feel good about his well-being and the well-being of his family. You're happy to see him in that condition, knowing that he's still uh, got some short-term memory issues. But it just makes you feel good to know that a
Yes.
friend of yours could theoretically go out. He's going to go out with the rest of us. We're all going to hit that door, but you can see him going out in a much gentler way. Is that a good way to say
That's a
it?
great way of putting it. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So whatever it is they're using, we want to clap hands for the doctors or the people that are putting that together because uh, if you can salvage a little bit of that, a little bit of that for everybody, his friends and family, it's
Yeah, I mean,
there's hope, I guess.
when I talked to him last week, as you know,
Mm,
it's probably the best he sounded in 2 or 3 years. He's back home. He's rejoined the gym. He and his wife are walking in the morning. As you said, his short-term memory is
mm,
it's just not there. It's just not there. But boy, it was so sweet to hear some of the old Gene. It
mm.
was just
Well, it helps us. It helps
uh,
those of us are his friends, and that's what's difficult is when someone says, "Oh, look how nice." I said, "Yeah, I feel good about that." Maybe if someone doesn't know it, wouldn't pay any attention to it. But let me ask you this, David. He was in a situation where a little bit of nurturing and environment changed him, and then medications changed him. So I wonder what was the most important,
yeah, good
environment
question. Good question.
or medication?
Yeah.
If you don't have, I mean, if you can't, if he's isolated, if your loved one is isolated and it's got dementia, he may not improve at all whether you give him any kind of drugs. But if he's in a social situation, people talking to him, he's busy, and you add this medication, shows a big improvement. You take him out of that, do you lose that? I don't know.
I don't know what the formula was, but whatever they did certainly helped for him. Kind of gave him a new lease.
And we're happy. So,
Yeah,
anybody
boy, oh
got any
boy.
stories out there? Do you know that of a big change in someone's life that you thought, write to us. I'd be happy to hear about it. Nothing we could even talk about and give you a shout out.
But hey, we had the No Kings demonstrations
Ah, we
last
did.
Sunday. I went to one in Sarasota. We had a couple thousand people there. They had an evening event that had like 7,500 people there. We stayed off the road because, you know, our governor has said, well,
You can run over it. They can if you go out in the street, they can hit you with a car. That's what he said.
standing
Yes.
your ground in Florida. Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to go down that road. I just want to
Yeah.
mention that there was a lot of enthusiasm there, a lot of driver support. We got a lot of honks. We got lots of thumbs up. A couple Trumpsters drove by showing their IQ. You know, they're waving their IQ to us. You know, I heard it was like 4 to 6 nationally turned out, 4 to 6 million. So that's a good start. When you start getting, you know, that was like what 2%, almost 2%. When
What surprises me? What was the purpose of having the Second Amendment put into the Constitution? I thought it was. I thought that they feared a king, and that's why they said everybody should have a little rifle behind the door.
Yeah. Well, initially there was no federal militia because there was a concern by the founding fathers that could be a federal takeover and leader could be a king. So that's why actually resisted a federal militia for a long time. And then at some
Oh.
point it became, you know, it made sense that it.
Well, it's food for thought, I suppose.
Yeah.
We can,
Let's just give you a quote from Mark Twain. All right. I thought this was good. Patriotism is supporting your country all of the time and your government when it deserves it. I think that's great.
yeah, Mr. Twain was quite quite the philosopher when it came to those things.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
hey, what do you think, Dave? On that note, we should probably say adios, my friends.
Yeah. I just want to give people a heads up here as we fade away. I'm going to put two bonus tracks in today. We've had lots of disconcerting events, to say the least, over immigration. I want to remind everybody again that you know, unless you're a Native American, one of the indigenous tribes, you are an immigrant. Okay, so what I'm going to put in the show notes, and I urge you to go to the end of the show notes and listen to the bonus tracks. This is the song "Amazing Grace." Now, I'm not of that persuasion, but I love the song, and it's sung in Inuit by Susan Aglukark, a Canadian. That's who I was introduced by to her by a good Canadian friend probably 30 years ago, and sung again in Cherokee by Iveta Sunyata. A little nice way to go out here thinking about the world today. And
Should we mention that you're going on assignment? You're going out to
you could
find.
do that. Yeah, I am going on assignment Sunday
You are
for a
going on
month.
assignment. The old Bucks have commissioned Dave to do some surveys and get some opinions. Yeah, well, you will run into people and they'll have opinions. And when you check in with me, I'll be holding down the fort here at Communications Central here,
The home center, yeah. The home office.
and you'll be zooming in, and you'll be putting your hand on the pulse of the world opinion of what's going on. So I wish y'all the best on that, and have a safe trip and good flights and good connections, and hope the weather don't bite you.
Okay, fair enough. All right. This is old Buck Dave saying, take care, everybody. We'll be in touch.
Old Buckdale wishing everybody well. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.